Hariom everybody, welcome back to our Tuesday Vedanta study class. In America, there was a book that was published. The title of the book was How to Change Your Wife in 30 Days. And within 1 week, they sold about 30 million copies. And before, in fact, a lot of people, even I tried to get hold of it. I couldn't get it. I tried, what do you call this, all the bookstores here, on Amazon, couldn't find a copy. It was all sold out. I even asked some of the class students, many men, and all of them wanted to get a copy so that we could buy bulk, all right? So it was all sold out, couldn't get it. But before the author discovered the title, that the title had an error, so it's a spelling mistake, typos. The correct title was How to Change Your Life in 30 Days by Taking Responsibility. So after the author discovered the title, the error in the title, and changed it and republished it, and in 2 months, they sold 10 copies. To the best of my knowledge, there was no such book. Nothing like that happened. Sorry. To the best of my knowledge, nothing like that happened. But what I want to suggest to you by that humor is that we are living in an era of blame game, that everybody likes to blame everybody. Not people want to take responsibility of their life. Not many people want to take the responsibility of what is happening to them. They get a temporary solace by blaming the world, by blaming the people outside. In fact, as you may have been noticing in the social media and elsewhere, a lot of astrologers are taking credit for their prediction that because of the placement and movement of the planets, that is why there is COVID-19. And because of the placement of the planet, there is that tiff between India and China. What is happening? You know, they were on the verge of war. People love to blame the stars and moon and everything else. People love to blame the responsibility to outside world. They blame everybody else. And yet, the happiest of people in the world, if you can come across, are those who take the responsibility of their life upon themselves. In fact, as all of you must have been receiving it, I'm sure you've been receiving our posts that we send out every week or sometimes twice a week. The idea was to create a social media presence which is necessary for our app, the app called Angajan. Those who have not downloaded it, please do that. It is only available in the Android platform. iOS is still not, we couldn't get it because they have, I don't know, I don't understand. There are some stringent rules. We couldn't get it. So we need to show some social media presence. So we send out those quotes and videos weekly or twice a week. And so please share it with everybody that you can, and both all the media that's possible, and videos as well. And one of the posts that I posted last week was about relationship. And before I send the post to the person who's managing the social media, somebody else is managing it, and so before I send it out to the person, having prepared the what do you call this, handout. In fact, Deepthi and Revati designed those stuff, and somebody else manages it. So I remember I told Deepthi that this probably one of the least popular posts I'll ever get. And I might even get a lot of flags for it. And that's exactly what happened. Because the post was, if you look at your WhatsApp post that I sent, the first statement was, take responsibility of your relationship. The essence of that quote was that if somebody behaving in a particular way towards you, noble, ignoble, cruel, kind, very terse or gentle, whichever way it is, you have a role to play for the other person's behavior. Now, this rather difficult to understand and more difficult to digest it. That somebody else's behavior towards me, I am responsible. What nonsense is that? Yet that is the fact. Other people, the way they treat you, your personality plays an important role. Nobody wants to take the responsibility. So out of curiosity, I asked the social media manager, all right, I asked the social media manager, how's the response for that particular post? And she said exactly what I thought, that that's one of the poorest, what do you call this, liking. That was, there's not much liking, a few people like and share, etc. But that post was one of the least liked and shared posts. Why? Because I would assume that the responsibility of your relationship was given to you, but nobody wants to take the responsibility. Everybody likes to blame the world. People love to believe that the God is punishing us. People love to believe it is Vishnu or Rama or Hanuman or Ganesha or Goddess Lakshmi or Saraswati is punishing us. There are people who believe if they have a setback financially, they believe Goddess Lakshmi is punishing us, so we need to do Lakshmi Puja. If they have a poor health, they believe Lord Hanuman is punishing us, so we need to please Lord Hanuman. Or they would go to a guru and the guru says, you got to do a puja for Navagraha, that is 9 planets. Many of them can't even pronounce Navagraha. It is Navagraha. Graha means planet, not Gara. A lot of people here pronounce Gara. Please get that pronunciation right. It is Navagraha. All right. And no doubt, these planets do have an impact on our thought. I don't discount that fact. But that should never dissuade you from taking responsibility of your life, whichever way, whether it is a relationship, whether it is your happiness or stress and happiness, whatever it is. In fact, in the 6th verse of the 6th verse of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, one of the very punchy verses, Lord Krishna says, Uddharet Atmanatmanam Atmanam Avasadayet Atmanye Vatmano Bandhu Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. The translation of that verse is Uddhared Atmanatmanam. Uddhared, lift yourself by yourself. Atman Atmanam. Atma means self. By yourself. Lift yourself by yourself. Atmanye Vatmano Bandhu. Your friend, yourself is your best friend. Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. Your own self is your worst enemy. Your own mind is your best friend and your worst enemy. If your mind, thoughts, desires, emotion, and ego, of course, are under perfect control, you become your best friend, best counsel, best advisor, best aid, best in everything for yourself. If you do not have control of your thoughts, your mind, your emotions, your ego, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter what qualifications you have, no matter how good the family members you have, no matter how much wealth you have, you become your own enemy. Very few people in the world who want to take responsibility of it, including our immediate family members, whether it is your spouse, children, parents. If the children behave in a particular way, good or bad, remember, you have a role to play in that child's behavior, both in terms of your own current personality as well as karmically, in terms of karma. Now, this very few people want to take responsibility, and yet you will feel liberated. You will feel extremely liberated from pain when you take responsibility of your pain and suffering, whichever way. When we don't blame the other people, all right? So that is the royal secret, royal knowledge, the yoga of royal knowledge and the royal secret, Raja Vidya, Raja Gruhya Yoga, the 9th chapter that we are studying. So, in order to understand that, in order to get a fair amount of benefit, I would not dare to say full benefit. If you get full benefit, you are the extremely outstanding student. But even to aspire for a fair amount of benefit out of this understanding of the Bhagavad Gita, he gave us the qualification that is called Adhikara Nirupanam, that is enunciating the qualification. Adhikari means one who is qualified. Remember, Bhagavad Gita is a diluted version of the knowledge of the Upanishads, knowledge of the Vedas. So, during the Vedic era, when students, the earnest spiritual seekers, they tried everything that they could on their own to experience the ultimate, the supreme reality, God. They wanted to find God. They were desperate. They were tortured, as it were, by that inquiry. Where is God? What is God? They were desperate. And they sought a spiritual master. Where? In the deep recesses of Himalayan jungles. They trekked the jungle, encountered all the dangers to seek a master. And those young seekers met the master and asked this question: where is God? Who is God? What is my purpose here? Who am I? And the master did not give the answer. The master told the seeker, stay with me for 1 year. And those earnest spiritual seekers stayed with the master for 1 year. Exactly after 1 year, when there was no calendars and your what do you call the smartphones, etc., to check the days and calendar, when they had none of those devices to measure the passage of time, exactly after 1 year, the earnest seeker asked the question: where is God? What is God? What is the purpose? What is my purpose? Who is the supreme reality? The master said, Tat Tvam Asi, that the what? You are God. Education began and ended there. And those seekers had to go back to the banks of the river Ganga, contemplate upon that statement. Tattvamasi, what is that? You are that. Tat means that, Tvam means you, Asi means art. You are that. What you're seeking, you are. And they contemplated, thought about it, went back to the master and asked the question: is this the truth? Is this a supreme reality? Is this God? Neti, not that. That's all they said. Now, why did the master had to wait for 1 long year to give that message, Tat Tvamasi, which will only take 10 seconds? Because the education was given to adhikaris, people who are ready to receive the knowledge, people who, without the basic qualification, the knowledge is not only beneficial, sometimes it can even detrimental. They can use it for wrong purposes. That is what they call as devil quoting scripture. They quote scripture for to support their selfish, egocentric pursuit of desires. So in the third verse, to really assimilate the knowledge, you need Shraddha. It is not just the faith. It is much more than that. A lot of people you have come across, I've come across also so many, who claim to have lot of faith. I know one lady who was a great devotee of goddess Durga, great devotee. All the prayers and rituals and everything that she would do, and she had a challenge, a tragedy rather. And the first thing that she has done is to throw all the pictures of goddess and gods and all the little mandir that she had in her house. She threw away all that. If I've been so devoted, and goddess Durga did this to me, I'm not devoted to her. That kind of faith. That kind of faith is not the Shraddha that he's talking about. A lot of people have that kind of faith, which is emotional. This Shraddha is rational. It is based on deep conviction, corroboratory evidences, and that can be experimented in life and proven. Right? So people who have that Shraddha can benefit from this. Verse 4.
Maya tathamidam sarvam.
Maya tathamidam sarvam. Jagadavyaktamurtina
मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि
Matsthani sarvabhutani
न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः
na chaham teshvavastitaha
मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगदः व्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः.
To that question as to where is God, what is the supreme reality, Krishna answers, Maya tadamidam sarvam. Maya means by me, says Krishna. Tatam means pervaded. All of this refers to everything in the world. So where is God? He says, all this is pervaded by God, but then why are we not seeing God? We are only seeing things and beings. We are only seeing material objects, people, etc. It is because it is pervaded in unmanifest form. All this world is pervaded by me in the unmanifest form. All beings dwell. All beings dwell in me, and I do not dwell in them. All this world is pervaded by the supreme reality, God. But then why are we not able to see it? It is not manifest to us. Just as if you ask, where does milk come from? Milk come from cow. And where is milk in the cow? In its udder. And where does it come? Where does it come from in the udder? From all over the body of the cow. And then milk, you collect it and you convert it into curd. And then eventually you can see that butter ghee comes from milk. Butter ghee comes from milk. And if you ask, where is butter in the milk? It is all over. It is all pervading in the milk. It is there all over. But it is in the unmanifest form. Just as butter pervades the entire milk in the unmanifest form, if you want to see the manifest version of butter ghee, you have to go through a process. And what is that process? The process is you have to boil the milk, allow the milk to cool down to a lukewarm temperature. Not very cold, allow it to cool down to a lukewarm temperature after boiling it. And then you add little bit of already prepared curd. Some people add yeast. And you leave it overnight. Leave it overnight, and next day morning, when you look at the pot, you'll find the milk has turned into curd, semi-solid, depending upon the quality of the milk. Still you can't see the ghee. So that curd, you have to churn it with the cross ladle. When you vigorously churn the curd, the yogurt, pour some water, loosen it a little bit, churn it vigorously. And you find slowly, gradually, the butter separates from the milk, and you collect that butter, place it in a pot in fresh water. Those days, they did not have fridge, refrigerators, so they used to hang the butter ghee in a sling on the ceiling to prevent from insects and other creatures. Every day they would churn, collect it, place it in the pot. They change the water every day. And then comes our dear friend Krishna. Krishna breaks into the house of the gopis. You all know the story. And they formed a human pyramid, and Krishna was the right on top, and climbed and steal the butter ghee. The story. So that butter ghee represents our pure consciousness. So the milk is all pervading, but if you want to see the butter, the butter ghee is all pervading in the milk, but if you want to see it, you got to churn it. Similarly, if you really want to experience that divinity, at least even feel the presence of divinity, you got to churn your mind. What is the churning? Contemplation. In the deep, serene, silent, quiet environment in the early morning during Brahma Muhurtam, you keep your Bhagavad Gita open, ready for next morning to study, and you read through the verses. Apply your critical thinking by asking the question, what and why, how and who, when and where. And then you contemplate upon it. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it blindly just because Krishna is saying that God, I am all pervading. When you contemplate upon it, you will find the wisdom get separated. The knowledge get crystallized in your mind. So all this world is pervaded by me in the unmanifested form. All beings dwell in me, and I do not dwell in them. Why? Because all these beings have no existence, just as when you walk into a desert on a hot, bright summer day, if you look yonder, you will not see sand, you will see water, mirage. When you see the mirage, which is an illusion, it appears to be water. If the sand were to speak, the sand says, the water is in me, I am not in water. The desert is speaking in that sense. To use the analogy of the rope and snake, if the rope were to speak, the rope says, the snake is in me, I am not in them. The beings, all the things and beings in the world which we call the world is superimposed upon that supreme reality, but we don't see it. And how do we see it? That is what the whole Bhagavad Gita is all about. Verse 5.
न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थः भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः ममात्मा भूतभावनः न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः
nor do beings dwell in me. Behold my divine yoga, bringing forth and supporting beings. Myself does not dwell in them. When you read these verses, you wonder, Bhagavan Krishna is in a real state of mind, because he says, all beings dwell in me and I do not dwell in them. And he says, nor do being dwells in me. Getting confused. All right. See, the style of the Bhagavad Gita is to throw some paradox to make you think. Only when you see something paradoxical, or when you read a glaring contradiction, only then that is the way to stimulate our intellect. When something is glaring, contrary, you begin to think. So that is the way to kickstart the intellect. So Arjuna has been listening to the Bhagavad Gita for a long time. And you sort of, when you listen to somebody for a period of time, there is a sort of monotony sets in. So when a contradiction is thrown in, you wake up, what is he saying? All right. Nor do beings dwell in me. Behold my divine yoga. Yoga Maya. How do these beings brought forth? It is my yoga Maya, says Krishna. Now, what is that yoga, divine yoga? Yogam Pashwame Yogam Aishwaram. Aishwaram means divine. Ishwara is Lord. Aishwaram means something related to divinity. So it's a divine yoga, as it were. So what is the divine yoga? That Yoga Maya. Very simple. Ignorance. Ignorance of the rope creates the misapprehension called snake. So without the rope being present, it's impossible to have the ignorance of the rope. So without the divinity being present, we will not have the ignorance of God. So therefore, Bhagavan Krishna says, I create that Yoga Maya because without my presence, it's impossible to have the ignorance of it. See, if I were to make a statement that there is no donkey sitting behind the wall, when I make that statement, I have to conceive the possibility of a donkey being present. Without the donkey being present, I will not have the ignorance of the donkey. It's like that. So therefore he says, behold my yoga maya, bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. Sand has the ability to bring forth and support water in desert. Rope has the ability to bring forth and support snakes. When I do not recognize a post as a post that creates the possibility of misunderstanding the post to be a ghost. So the post has the power to create the ignorance. In that sense, he is saying. beings do not, myself does not dwell in the, meaning being does not exist. So the whole world is an illusion. It's a mithya. That's the substance of it. World is like the hairs of a rabbit's horn. Rabbits never had a horn. It's an illusion. But then if you say it's an illusion, but it is present now. You can see it, you can taste it, you can touch it. That is why it is called Maya. The word Maya means Ya Ma Sa. Maya, meaning that which does not exist. The definition of reality is that anything that existed in the past, it exists now in the present, and it continues to exist in the future. That is the test of reality. That is, anything that is existed in the past, it exists now, and it will continue to exist in the future. That which exists in the past, present, and the future, that is the test of reality. And if you apply that test of reality, the world that we are experiencing does not stand the test of reality. How do we say that? The world that you are experiencing now seems so solid, rigid, real. But that solid, rigid, real world remains so long as you are in the waking state. Think carefully. The reality of the world seems real to you so long as you are in the waking state. The moment you leave the precincts of the waking state and go into the dream or the deep sleep state, the waking world does not exist. When you go to the dream, to a dreamer, he or she has a totally different world than you are experiencing in the waking state. And then when we go to the deep sleep state, you experience a sense of nothingness. So which world is real? The waking or the dream or the deep sleep state, which is the experience of nothingness? Remember that famous question that King Janaka asked. King Janaka dreamt. He had a dream. The dream was that he dreamt that he was a beggar begging in the street, suffering from starvation, penury, no shelter, nothing, really struggling. And King Janaka woke up in the middle of the night and he asked the famous question. That is, am I King Janaka who dreamt as a beggar, or am I that beggar now dreaming as King Janaka? What is my identity? Am I King Janaka who dreamt as the beggar, Or am I that beggar who's now dreaming as King Janaka? You will never find an answer to that question until we wake up from this state. So he says, bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. That these beings do not exist because they do not stand the test of reality. Verse 6.
यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यम् यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यम् वायु सर्वत्र गो महान् वायु सर्वत्र गो महान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानित्युपधारय मत्स्थानित्युपधारय यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यम् वायु सर्वत्र गो महान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि
मत्स्थानित्युपधारयन्. He's giving us an analogy, elucidating the ideas discussed before. He says, as the mighty wind moving everywhere rests ever in space, even so know that all beings rest in me. Now you must be thoroughly confused. If you're not confused, you're not thinking. Because he said, myself does not dwell in them, nor do beings dwell in me. And then he says, all beings rest in me. Did something gone into Krishna when he was talking? As the mighty wind moving everywhere rest ever in space, even so know that all beings rest in me. Just as the space is all pervading, space is everywhere, but the beings rest in the space, but the space does not get contaminated or polluted by whatever that space holds. The space in the toilet is any less holier than the space in the temple. The temple, the space in the temple does not sanctify the space any more than the space in the toilet. The space remains space, uncontaminated, unpolluted. In that sense, all beings rest in me without me being unaffected, says Krishna. Air moves around. In fact, air is only in the surface of the earth, but the space, the vast expanse of the space goes far beyond the entire universe, even where there is no air. Similarly, this world that you're experiencing is only a small speck in the vast expanse of the supreme reality. Just as a space is all pervading and it remains unaffected, space is just a witness. Even when there is a violent wind, like hurricane or tornado, the space is there before, however fast the wind is, the space is already existing in that sense. So as the mighty wind moving everywhere rests ever in space, even so know that all beings rest in me. just as the entire violent waves, froth and foam, rest in the ocean. Verse 7.
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya.
Sarvabhutani Kaunteya.
Prakritim yanti mamikam. Prakritim yanti mamikam. Kalpakshaye punasthani. Kalpakshaye punasthani. Kalpadhau visrijamyaham. Kalpadhau visrijamyaham. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya. Prakritim yanti mamikam. Kalpakshaye punasthani. Kalpadhau visrijamyaham.
O Kaunteya, O Arjuna, at the end of a kalpa, that is the time cycle, all beings enter my prakriti, the nature. My nature, my prakriti, says Krishna. At the beginning of a kalpa, I bring them forth again. Now, he is going back to what we studied in the 8th chapter. One kalpa, if you remember, all right? Remember? Trusha? Balwant Bhai? The numbers? I'd like to hear your voice, please.
Is it 4.32 billion years?
4.32 billion years. And how many zeros was? That was
Oh gosh.
9. Revati said
9.
9 zeros. Yeah, 4, correct.
Yeah.
One kalpa is 1 day of Brahma, quite right. All right. 1 day is 1,000 Mahayuga. And 1 Mahayuga is 4.32 million years. All right. One Mahayuga is 4.32 million years. And 1 Kalpa is 4.32 billion years. All right. So 4.32 billion years is 1 day of Brahma, and 4.32 billion years is 1 night of Brahma, and 1 day and 1 night put together, that's 24 hours of Brahma. That is 1 time cycle. 1 kalpa. He says, oh, count there at the end of 4.32 billion years. Quite right, Trisha. At the end of 4.32 billion years, at the end of a kalpa, all beings enter my prakriti. All right. It merges back. And at the beginning, I bring forth again. So this is called dissolution or pralaya. All right. The pralaya. The entire total dissolution. You know, how do we rationally or logically justify or substantiate such a dissolution of the world? A scientific explanation, an intellectual explanation possible is that if you look at the invention of destructive weapon,
For example, gunpowder. When gunpowder was invented, the formula for gunpowder was so secretive. No, people did not know because the formula, the scientific formula was very, very secretive. And then as decades or centuries went by, that secret formula of gunpowder came to the accessibility of more common man. You have guns. What was such a secretive formula, now it is no more a secret. Today, we have nuclear weapon. They say the amount of nuclear weapon that the countries in the world hold is, it can destroy the world 10 times over. That is the amount of weapon. And it is so secretive. Terrorists do not know. They only know the gunpowder, they use guns. What guarantee, as much as we like to believe that it will not come, what guarantee is that this nuclear technology will not reach the hands of few terrorists? Although it is very secretive, maybe a few centuries or even a millennium later might come. One, terrorist is enough to destroy the whole world. Now, when I talk about it, some of you may be scared. My God, the world will come to an end. If the world come to an end such a way, can be a very pleasant death indeed, because before you realize it's gone, a lot of people are scared. Oh, if there is nuclear war breaks out. I would say that is a very pleasant death. Before you realize it's gone, boom, one way it's gone. There's no time to be afraid also, isn't it? Compare that to the other kind of death, where you fall sick, you grow old, and you admit in the hospital, and the pipe is going through the nose, through the mouth, and many other part of the body, and you lie in the hospital for several months, and then the doctor eventually gave up, and then you become a nuisance to the family, growing old, and then still don't die. Go through which death is better? Which is better? Which is better, Nirod?
Hey, Prof, I'd prefer the nuclear death.
So why should we be afraid?
Absolutely.
We don't definitely welcome that, because today, if you actually see, if there is peace, if this peace that we observe is not really a peace, it is based on fear. The seeming peace between the countries, between America and Russia, America and China, or India and Pakistan, or India and China, there seem to be seeming peace is the sheer fear. Definitely, we're not welcoming that, but the point is that there's no need for us to be afraid. So the cycle, or Kaunteya, or Arjuna, at the end of a kalpa, all beings enter my prakriti at the beginning of kalpa. I bring them forth again. It's all God's work, Krishna's work, as it were. So it is a design. It's a cycle. Everything is in a cycle. There cannot be only day. There has to be day and night. After 12 hours, there is day, and then it comes night, and then comes day. There's a cycle, and then there is a week, then there is a month, then there is a year, then there is a century, then there is a millennium, and not after millennium is. I would assume what Krishna is saying, pralaya, kalpa, at the end of this kalpa, one kalpa is that 4.32 billion years, everything dissolves, and then the entire whole world is burnt, and then a few a family or few people in some corner of the world survives, and they start everything all over again, the Stone Age as they call it, and come to the evolution, comes to the civilization, the highest level of civilization, what we are almost there today. And then comes another nuclear. So this cycle goes on. And then you may wonder, from where does Krishna bring forth beings? He answers in the next verse.
Prakritim swamavashtabhya. Prakritim swamavashtabhya. Visrijami punah punah.
Visrijami punah punah.
Bhutagramamimam kritsnam.
Bhutagramamimam krishnam.
Avasham prakritervashat. Avasham prakritervashat. Prakritim swamavashtabhya. Visrijami punah punah. Bhutagramamimam kritsnam. Avasham prakritervashat.
Avasham prakrite's vashat, meaning helplessly by the force of prakriti. How does Krishna bring forth these beings? He says, animating my own prakriti. Prakritim swam avashtabhya. I bring forth again and again. The cycle goes on. And all these multitude of beings helplessly by the force of Prakriti. Prakriti literally means nature. Just as it is the nature, it is the Prakriti of the ocean to have waves. It is the Prakriti of the vastness of the ocean to create waves. It is not the nature, it is not the Prakriti of water in a glass. Is there waves? Beg your pardon. Is there waves in a glass of water? No. I see that some of you seem to be getting disconnected and you have to rejoin again. Is that a problem at your end or at my end? Can somebody respond? Trusha, you just rejoined again. Wasn't the connection got cut? Okay, somebody else also. I'm just, because we are also experiencing every now and then during the day, of course, the connection goes off and we have to switch off the router and restart again. So it's at your end. Okay. So it is the Prakriti. Okay. At your end. All right. So now my question is there waves in a glass of water? Yashin? Can you see waves in the glass of water?
No, Prof.
No. Do you see waves in the ocean?
Yes, Prof.
That is the Prakriti. So it is the Prakriti, it is the nature of the vastness of the ocean to create waves and subside. Whereas if you keep a bucket, even a bucket of water, leave alone a glass of water, there is no waves. All this multitude of beings helplessly by the force of Prakriti, the vastness of water, the ocean has no choice. Helplessly by, in other words, I bring forth again and again all this multitude of beings helplessly by the force of Prakriti, meaning it is applicable in the macrocosmic level as well as in microcosm. That is the individual as well as in the cosmic level. At the individual level, the prakriti of your eye is to see. The prakriti, the nature of your mind is to stimulate emotions, create thoughts. So behind the emotions is the Atman enlivening those thoughts. Behind the 5 organs of perception is the self, the Atman enlivening these 5 organs of perception. Helplessly by the Prakriti, Guna. The nature, the guna of a tiger is to be ferocious. The prakriti or the guna, another word that is often used in the Bhagavad Gita for nature is guna. The prakriti or the guna of a tiger is to be ferocious. The guna, the prakriti of a cow is to be meek and gentle. Similarly, every individual has his or her own guna prakriti, which he or she cannot live apart from it. That is the emphasis here. Avesha means helplessly. Remember, each one of us are helplessly driven into behaving in a particular way dictated by our own vasana. We're helpless. Different people, no 2 individual in the world is same. Each one behave differently. Not only the grown-up, even babies, kids, infants, even newborn babies, few days, a few weeks, a few months old. Some children, you go and want to take them and they're so friendly, embrace you, they'll come to you. Some children, when you want to go near, no, I don't want to see you. Some children will stare at you as if you just come from Mars or something. Who are you? No reaction. Different behavior. Why? Because of their karma, their guna, their prakriti, their nature. They behave accordingly. Each one of us are helplessly driven by our own prakriti. Therefore, the message is that you have to understand them. You have to understand and accept them as they are, not the way you like them to be. Accept them as they are, not the way you like them to be. That is the message. Prakriti. Every aspect of the world has its prakriti, its nature. If you don't accept the nature of the world as it is, your mind will develop a resistance. When your mind resists the guna, the prakriti, the nature of the world as it is, the moment you resist, that very moment your pain and suffering begins. The nature of winter is cold. You and me have no choice but to accept the nature of winter as it is. If you resist, you are mentally fighting against the benevolent design of nature and you will suffer out of it. Similarly, just as the nature of winter is cold, the nature of summer is hot, the nature of dog is behave in a particular way, the nature of a tiger is ferocious, the nature of cobra is to be ferocious, the nature of a rabbit is meek and gentle. Similarly, there are cobras among human beings, there are tigers among human beings, there are rabbits among human beings, there are deer among human beings, there are cows among human beings, there are buffaloes also among human beings. So animating my own prakriti, he says, I bring forth again and again all this multitude of beings. Accept, understand, don't resist them. That is the way to be happy.
Angajanji,
Yes, Sadhyapai, go ahead.
sorry, I'm a bit confused here. We are talking about the final dissolution, okay?
Right.
And then it says that Bhagavan Sri Krishna brings forth, okay?
Okay.
When we are referring to Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this talk here, are we referring to ourselves? We bring ourselves back into being.
See, correct. When Bhagavan Krishna says, animating my own prakriti, I bring forth again and again this multitude of beings. That's the verse, right?
Yes.
Now, when you relate to our personality, remember, we always maintain that the world is a projection of yourself. The world is an expression of yourself.
Sure.
So if you look at it from a relative point of view, that is our understanding. The world that see, your world is totally different from my world. Even if you were to sit in the same room, your experience are totally different.
Correct.
Right? That is from the relative point of view. From the absolute point of view, when you take Lord Krishna as the supreme reality, God, all right, that is all pervading, based on that all pervasive nature, he brings forth and support beings. So Krishna is talking about from his point of view, at that point of view. But then it's not enough for us to just read through because it may not ring a bell. So therefore, I'm watering it down to our level, to when we talk about the gunas. You know, the world, all these manifestations that we are experiencing, day, night, flora, fauna, animals, beings, human beings, each one of them has his or her own nature. All right. So we are trying to practicalize this verse rather than, you know, just talking about the absolute point of view, only talking from the metaphysical level. Does that make sense? Does that clarify, Debai?
It'll take me a while, but we'll get there. Thank you.
All right, let me repeat it. Your question was that we are saying that we manifold, bring forth things and beings. All right. So if you interpret Krishna to me, that we always mentioned that whenever Krishna uses the word first person singular pronoun I or me, God speaks as it were. All right. So you take that understanding, God brings forth and, you know, create beings, creation and dissolution. All right. In the presence of that supreme reality, the things emerge, exist, and dissolve. In the presence of the vastness of the ocean, the waves emerge, exist, and dissolve. In that sense. Okay, think about it.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
We will continue next week, Tuesday. As you know, on the 5th July is Guru Purnima. That happened to be Sunday. So we have a special program on Guru Purnima, a special lecture from 4 to 5:30 in the afternoon. We chose that time because it is a Sunday. So we assume that it's most convenient time. And those of you or many others as well who are participating in Guru Purnima of celebration in their own way, they will be available to listen to the talk on Sunday. So you must have received the flyer. The topic is Your Nature is Your Future. Spiritual laws of success that the universities do not teach. That is the topic on Sunday afternoon, 4 to 5:30, 1.5 hours. So we will be linking the session to Facebook Live. So please pass the message around so that it's an opportunity where we pay our salutation, our obeisance to the galaxy of sages and saints who made the sacrifices to preserve this knowledge of Vedanta, the culture and tradition that you and me are enjoying today. So that's happened on Sunday. So please join us. Okay, it'll be on Facebook Live. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, and of course on Sunday, including the meditation. Switch off the light or make it dim. Sit in a most comfortable position with your back, neck, and head straight. Relax your body. Relax your feet. Relax your legs, your thighs, your buttocks, your stomach, your chest. Relax your back, your shoulders, your hands, your neck. Unclench your chin. Relax your lips, your eyes, your forehead, back of your head, and crown of your head. Your body is now relaxed. Now, relax your mind. Visualize serenity. Visualize a calm, steady lake. Visualize cloudless sky. Visualize mountain covered with snow. Visualize an infant in deep sleep. Now, keep your mind tuned to one single sound that you can hear externally. Keep your mind tuned to that. Now, shift your awareness to your breathing. Observe your breathing. Feel the cold air as you inhale and warm air as you exhale. We will now chant the mantra Om together. That will culminate into mental whispers and eventually dies away in silence, and you absorb the silence. Breathe in. Absorb the silence. Breathe in. Shanti. Shanti. Thank you. Join us on Sunday.